All right, it is 6 o'clock and we will start our meeting. Welcome everyone to our North Middlesex Council December 15th meeting. Call this meeting to order. Disclosure of pecuniary interest. If you have any, please forward it to our clerk. Minutes from the previous meeting. Any errors or omissions, business arising? Seeing none, we're looking for a motion to approve the minutes. Moved by Councillor Moyer, seconded by Councillor Nickel. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Our first order of business is delegation. We have with us from Elscraig Royal Canadian Legion Branch 422, the committee, the Veteran Banner Project, and it's Linda Shipway and Ellen Whitmore Smith. And if you would like to start, go ahead, whoever started.
Hello, my name is Ellen Whitmore Smith and Linda Shipway, my compatriot here. And good evening, ladies and gentlemen, season's greetings and have a Merry Christmas. Okay, we're done. Oh, can I? Perfect. Okay, thank you for inviting us here to your meeting tonight. We have been working on a Veterans Banner project. Banner being those, right here, hold that up, Linda, please. Oh, I got them hanging upside down. There's an example of one. You can pass it around if you want. It's not completely sewed, but this is the gist of it. Also, I sent pictures of other banners that were going to be put up on the screen. Our goal as Legion Branch 422 is to carry on with a Veterans Banner project that Linda and I have been working on since 2019. We have the approval from the Elscraig Legion, which is Branch 422. And we've already contacted other municipalities, and you can see samples of their banners that are up on your screen. We talked to some of the organizers, it just disappeared. We talked to some of the organizers in Glencoe and also in Ilderton to find out how they went about doing their project. We have collected pictures. The ones that are on the screen are from Ilderton, Glencoe, Dorchester, Thamesville, and St. Mary's. We've conducted preliminary negotiations with a banner printer manufacturer with regards to a design. That would be the design that we would use, and with regards to the size and the cost for him to do it. We met with John Lampman here, and with regards to what posts potentially are able to be used in Elscraig if we got the approval to put the banners on. And he loaned me these samples, which John can have back. And I took them to the sign manufacturer so that he would get the exact measurements, because the measurements that are used in each community are sometimes a little bit different. So he took those, measured them, and he's got those measurements when we finally get all of our approvals. John suggested that we do this presentation or delegation. And so we booked it via Jackie Tiedman and Ashley Parziak. They're really good. John explained that the lamp posts that are down the main street in Elscraig that have banner brackets on them are ones that we'd be able to use if and when we get approval. But the hydro poles, we'd have to have approval through Ontario Hydro to be able to use them. So we've kind of put that on the back burner, so to speak, now. We watched the timing of when the different banners and flyers in Elscraig were put up and taken down. And these banners would go up the last Friday in October and down mid-November. The banners in Elscraig were changed November 17th this year for Christmas ones. So that time bracket would work for this project. Lest we forget, the purpose of this project is to recognize veterans who have served in World War I, World War II, Korea, Afghanistan, Vietnam, Boer War. We've even got some names from the Boer War. And on the back of that Remembrance Day pamphlet is a list, a preliminary list. We know it's not all inclusive, but it was kind of put together from all the different locations that we could get veterans' names. And we used that for our Remembrance Day service this past November 11th. And as you know, veterans in a lot of people's minds are older people who have, there's not many left. However, there are younger ones that have served in other theaters or what wars, battles. And everyone who has participated in a battle or a war has done so because they fought and they believed in our freedoms, and they believed that they were doing something that was good, and we've enjoyed all those freedoms up till now. The banners would have the veteran's picture on it, as the sample is, it's there. Their battalion or what war they were in, what their position was, gunner, Army, Navy, Air, Merchant Marine, medical, tank driver, first hussars, bomber, trooper, infantry, whatever the family comes up with. It is a family-sponsored banner, and they would be the ones that would pay for it. The Legion Branch 422 and Linda and I are kind of the pointy end of the sword, but we have support from the Historical Society, who will do any research we need to try and figure out a proper picture or to trace a family so that we can get the information to them or get them engaged. And the Elsa Craig Villages, Elsa Craig and North Middlesex, Elsa Craig Village Association, they've got some money. So if we need some money for something, they're willing to share some. So we said, come on down. Our timeline, as we said, was 2019, the concept started and the research, and then the pandemic came along and slowed us down. But we're back up and rolling again now, and we're getting all of our approvals. Linda and I are going to prepare, once we have the approvals, prepare the applications and waivers. Now, the waivers are very important. They come from the family that give us permission to display the pictures and the information, because technically it's personal information, right? They will provide us with a picture, and in spring 2022, Linda and I hope to do a seminar, maybe outside at the Legion, to invite people to come and find out what the project's about, to pick up an application or bring a completed application, and the photos preferably digital. And the cost is going to be approximately $135 plus tax for each family. And on the banner, it will say sponsored by the Shipway family, or sponsored by the Rock family, or by Brian and Janice, or by whomever. Mid-August is when we're kind of setting our deadline to get them to the printer. And then the last week of October to mid-November, as already just explained, to have them posted. The Legion will collect them up and dry them and store them flat so that we can get the most service out of the banners, that they'll last a long time. As far as interest, we've had an information meeting with the Historical Society and also with the Village Association, and they were shocked at what we already had accomplished. And as noted, there are supporters, but the Legion Branch 422 are the lead project people. Already explained about the flyer that I handed out to you. We used that on November 11th to promote the concept and the idea. And I also announced it during the ceremony at the cenotaph. Afterwards, people were really excited and very interested in it, and they came up and they have been looking for their family veteran pictures since then, and gone back and forth with us. But we said we're holding back till we have all the approvals. So what do we need from you? First of all, an approval or an agreement or an okay, because it's in your municipality and you are the muckety mucks that run it. And so also, are we missing anything? Is there some other kind of approval that you think we might need? And if the project is really successful, like we get a whole pile of them in the first year, then we might need some more brackets. And I counted the poles and the brackets several times. The last time was December 14th, but this time I took my socks off, so I had my toes to help count. And this is what I got. The north side, there's 11 posts, but 3 of them are missing brackets. The south side, there are 27 posts and 9 of them are missing something. So that's a total of 38 maximum with one side, and 12 of those need some work. But if we put them on both sides of the post, then we could have 38 more. So 38 and 38 is 76, I think. I need more toes. The cost as far as who would pay for the banner posts, banner brackets, is that something the municipality would pay for? Is that something that our project would need to contribute to? Is that something we need to go and sell pencils on the corner to raise some money for? It's hard to tell. You're going to tell us. We need the hangman to put the banners up and take them down. And unless Linda and I, if you want us to do it, we'll gladly do it, but we're going to be off the slope. And are we missing anything else? That's it. That's all. And we really appreciate you listening and offering us whatever we might need to know.
Well, first of all, before I go to council, I'm really glad you just came to us. I look forward to this project happening. First time I seen these was in Listowel, I believe. And I remember saying to Jan, we need that in our community. You know, and hopefully in both of our communities, but you came forward. And so I think it's a great project, a great idea. I'm looking at the number of names you have. One question before I go there, what would you, if you have 110 people with banners, what would, like, how would you accommodate that? Like,
Well, as I said, I counted posts that have some semblance of brackets on them. So if you take that 38 times 2, there's 76. I also saw a place at the library. There's an antenna at the back. There's a couple of lamp posts at the community center. Where else did I find a lamp post that wasn't a hydro pole? There's a few around. Or, you know, at the end of each part of town, there's like those strings that go across with the Turtle Days, or, oh, we can't have those anymore, Gala Days, or Christmas decorations or whatever. So we thought that if we had to, we could string those across, and those are 24 inches across. So however across the road is, I didn't get my tape measure out, and I should know how wide roads are, but I forget. And we could hang several across there.
okay.
If we have more than that, I suppose we could put some in the windows of the stores. Some of them have already voiced an interest that they would allow us to put some in the windows. So the hardware store could maybe have 6 or 8, 2 strings. The finance place, the Whimsy, different places. So
You've put a lot of time into this. So what you're saying is you'd find a spot for it.
we'll find a spot.
Okay, I got it. All right, I'm going to bring it forward to council. Questions from council. Who'd like to start? Councilor Nickel. Try yours. Try your microphone. Councilor Hemming.
Yeah, I commend you on the work. I think it's well past new thing. I think it's great, great idea. That people need to be recognized.
Other Deputy Mayor Ellison.
Absolutely, I concur with the other thoughts that I think it's a great idea, and it's important to recognize those budgets who contribute to our safety and security in our region, absolutely. So I think it's a wonderful idea, and I appreciate it.
So let's just remind you to use your microphones just so that people at home can hear you. Okay, thank you. So what they are asking for, first of all, permission, which it is our polls, so that shouldn't, that's up to council. But the other thing they're asking for is more hang mounts on it. And so what's your wish or what's your thoughts on that, Council? Councilor Nickel?
Do we have an idea how much the mounts cost? An estimate?
I don't know. Just dealt with Alan and it was great dealing with them. And we kind of like what we were talking about is like the first year, I think it was like 50 that took in St. Mary's and about 7 that was 110. So we could reevaluate it for council and the Legion at the time where we have your cutoff at 76. Okay, we'll look at it that. Because until then, we don't really need to put more balance on poles unless we know that we have.
I think we need to be ready to do that, though. I think we do need to be ready to do that, because I've heard from people already who are saying they want to do that. Councilor Keel?
I was just wanting to know if possibly we had some mounts in inventory, that just haven't made it to the polls yet. Be just worth a count, I suppose.
So if we can find out the cost of more, because if it sounds like we're going to need another 38 or something like that to, or possibly even more if we have to repair something. Councilor Nick, McClinchy, sorry.
I 100% support your idea plan. That's excellent. I was just thinking about the mounts that's already on the post there. Have they been there a long time, or because I notice every year you have different, are they the same height as what's on there now, that what the banner would fit on that, or would they be smaller?
Okay, so what we did was I got these 2 pages that are 2 examples.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then I took these to the printer manufacturer, and he measured these. So the initial ones, that one that went around over there is a little bit shorter. So he can make them longer without.
Okay.
changing the whole lot.
But I was just saying about the brackets there. Have they been there a long time? Do they need replacing, or maybe maybe someone knows where those brackets were made, or maybe somebody locally made them. Who knows?
I'm sure our operations will know.
Okay. Okay, great, thanks. Keep the
So,
good work up.
so Councilor Nickel?
So I'd also make a suggestion that some of the local companies might like to donate some money for those brackets. And the other thing is, I'm thinking if we take the bill for those brackets, we can also use them for other things throughout the year.
Yeah. So we are looking for a motion of support for them to go ahead with it. Councilor Keough, Councilor Hemming, in favor? Carried. Great. Perfect. And as far as the extra rods and stuff, we're going to look into it. We won't let that be something that stops us. That's right, you do. And I know this is very much to your hearts, to both of you. And it is for a lot of people around. And so, yeah, great project. Great project. Thank you very much. Sean, thank you. Take care. No, go ahead. Merry Christmas.
I'll tell Sandy you've been good.
Okay, we're going to go to department reports. 5.1, report from the clerk on the cemetery bylaw proposed changes.
Thank you to the mayor and members of council. A report has been prepared. A report has been prepared for council consideration regarding cemetery bylaw proposed changes. The recommendation before council is that the report be received, that council hereby releases the draft report for a 30-day public consultation period. During the consultation period, that staff would provide notice of the proposed bylaw in accordance with the Funeral, Burial, and Cremation Services Act, and that a staff report be prepared following the consultation period for council consideration, including any further changes prior to council approval. Part of the executive summary is the current bylaw was enacted in 2015, and at that time undertook a comprehensive review. Since that time, substantial updates have been made in legislation as well as incorporating best practices that were not identified in previous bylaws. Staff have also maintained a record of items that were either not clear in the bylaw or were not identified at all. To ensure the proposed changes are clear when reviewing the draft bylaw, additions are identified in red and suggested removal of text is identified by strikeout. I would like to correct one statement in the executive summary is the intention was to have this bylaw brought before policy committee. However, we did not have a quorum on December 8th, and therefore I didn't have an opportunity to bring it to policy committee, and I should have that statement removed. Under the discussion part of the report, I have identified by bullet form some of the highlighted changes, and I will just go through them for council benefit. So there would be an addition to definitions for grave and winter internment. There would be proposed clarity of hours of operation when internments would not be done. Clarification under owner of monuments and markers to explicitly indicate maintenance and repairs lies with the internment rights holders and their legal or their legal representatives. The notice for internments would go from 24 to 48 hours. Additional clarification of container requirements for internment without vault. Removal of provision to allow for double depth burials. There is some pre-approvals on file for such double depth burials. However, it's always been predicated upon conditions at the time when that would occur. And if the conditions were right, that authority still lays with the cemetery operator on whether they could be accommodated or not. Clarification that cremation plots accommodate 2 cremation internments maximum. Provision for flat marker only on cremation plot and specify a maximum size. Flower beds, clarification that flower beds are permitted only in front of upright monuments and that they are not permitted on cremation plot as there's no room for them. And due to the change in trends towards cremation burials in existing plots, where the current bylaw only allows 1 flat marker in addition to an upright marker. And staff are proposing that we allow up to 3 flat markers maximum on full-size plots. And an additional statement would go in the bylaw that administrative changes to forms are allowed without council approval. So those are the highlights. The draft bylaw was also provided as part of this report. And again, just signifying what the red indicates, as well as the strikeouts would be removals. Just trying to think if there was any other particular items. I think that's an overview of what's being proposed. Again, we're not looking for the bylaw to be passed this evening, but more that council asks that it be released for public consultation. There are notice requirements that the ministry sets out that we do have to provide a certain consultation period. And at that time, we would make it known that any written comments could be provided. And as usual, we would provide any responses back in a form of a report that would come back to council with a recommendation of the bylaw that would be ready for council approval. I'd be happy to answer any specific questions that council may have at this time.
Any questions from council? Deputy Mayor Nelson and then Councillor Moyer.
Thank you, Jackie. I have a question. I'm a little confused where it talks about 2 cremation interments maximum, and yet then we allow 3 flat markers for cremation. So is that different size of lot then?
So cremation plots are a smaller size. They're 24 by 24. And the existing bylaw did not specify that it could accommodate 2 cremations. So we just want that clarified in the bylaw that those size of that could accommodate two urns.
Okay.
So we just wanted that clarified. And the other one is relating solely to full-size plots. And the current bylaw has your monument, your upright monument, and a flat marker that's traditionally been like mother, father, grandmother. But what we're finding is with the trends that some people have sought to have interments with grandparents, and the way the current bylaw is stated, that they wouldn't be allowed to put an additional marker on to identify that cremation that's going in there. And we do obviously feel it is an appropriate request. And because they're flat, they're not creating any maintenance concerns that way. Again, they have to be flat, and we wouldn't want any, just because of the size, we wouldn't want to go any more than 3. And we think that's a pretty good compromise based on the trends that we have seen.
Thank you. Counselor Moyer.
Yeah, thank you. Jack, it's on 2.6, the ownership of the monuments and markers. Just because of the age of some of those, I know from past cemetery boards, it's hard to find ownership, and some of them, people have moved away. So would fall back on the municipality to maintain those markers that we can't find ownership for?
So a couple things can happen. There's money, or there should be money set aside in the budget for if something happened to a stone that it was not in a safe state. So the municipality would come in and perhaps lay a monument down so it is in a safe state, but there's nothing compelling the municipality to do repairs because it does lie with the interment rights holders. I'm not sure we've really had to do any repairs. I haven't had anything come forward that if it hasn't been because of a health and safety reason that we've had to do something, where the wind knocked it over and we just didn't have the, we may have to call somebody in to help us get it in a safe state just with certain tools. But I mean, if there's nothing saying that council couldn't consider that depending on the circumstance. And there is money that we do receive from care and maintenance, the interest only, that a certain amount could be set aside in a budget to do certain types of repairs. But I think you would want to be very careful on that it didn't become something that was expected, because it really, those are not our monuments.
I was just thinking of the ones that have, I believe we did some on the, I can't think of the cemetery, but on number 4 by Carter's. I think we had fixed some monuments there. And just because people had moved away and we couldn't find the ownership.
That was probably maybe prior to 2012 when a lot of regulations changed.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions from council? I have to say, I read that bylaw. We had it present, like you gave it to the policy committee, and just the amount of detail to it is, I was amazed at it, how much detail there is to that policy. Councilor McClinchy.
Jackie, do we have a double depth by any chance? Do you know of one being up there at any graveyard, a double depth one?
We have in Park Hill Cemetery. I'm not familiar enough with Sylvan Cemetery, but in Park Hill many years ago, I think there maybe 1 or 2 of them there. It's not a very common.
So when they dig a grave, do they go down 6 feet plus, or how far do they go down? Do you know? Anybody know?
I'm not sure the exact depth. It does go down a fair distance.
At 6, so double depth. Ooh, that's 12.
And that
Going
is,
away.
there is a lot of specialized care that goes into
Oh, really?
there's a lot of specialized care that happens in there, and really it's not something that you
No.
want to do.
So when we're talking about cremation, was that's without a upright stone? Is that what we're talking about?
So
Or is it for,
cremation
like, we have, like,
plots,
We have a tombstone, and could you have a tombstone with the mother and dad, would they be able to have 2 cremations on each one? Or is that without the stone? We're talking about an upright.
So two different things. So there is a cremation plot, and they do not have upright monuments. They would only be allowed flat markers, which they have always been allowed flat markers. And then in your full-size plot, your bylaw in 2015 allows up to 6 cremations in a full-size plot if there's no full burial. If there is a full burial, 4, up to 4. Again, it all depends on conditions, that type of thing. So those are where the markers are.
All right.
Any other questions from council? No other questions? You have a motion in front of you? Do you want me to read that motion, or does everybody have it in front of them? Read, please. Thank you for the clarification. That the report entitled Cemetery Bylaw Proposed Changes be received, and that council hereby releases the draft bylaw for 30 days public consultation period. And during the consultation period, that staff provide notice of the proposed bylaw in accordance with the Funeral, Burial, and Cremation Services Act 2002, and that a staff report is prepared following the public consultation period for council consideration, including any further changes prior to council approval. Do we have a mover for that? Councillor McClinchy, Councillor Nickel, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Our next report is 5.2 is report from the clerk on the dog control services, including pound keeping.
Thank you to the mayor and members of council. A report has been prepared for you regarding dog control services, including pound keeping. The recommendation that the report be received and that the bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement for services with Cozy Country Kennel be approved for all readings. So a bit of the background as provided in the report, that the municipality has had contracted service with the Animal Care Center in Lobo for approximately 20 years. And we were advised in September that they are going to be moving on to a different business proposal at that location, that they would no longer be able to provide that service to our municipality. And as well, I've understand that other municipalities were provided that same notice. So it was kind of at first trying to think, because traditionally you've always had shelters, and there is not a lot of shelters in that context anymore. So staff tried to consider some other options, and one option that is before you this evening is Cozy Country Kennel. So that's a local kennel on Elliott Drive. And it is because they are very well known in the community. They actually have been mistaken for our shelter in the past. I think just because she's very well known in the community. And so I did approach the operator, Sally Martin, to see if she would even be interested in something like this. And she was definitely interested in it. However, we want to treat this as a pilot project. We want to ensure that the services are going to be able to provide not only for the operator, but for the municipality as well. I was not sure, about the pickup of dogs, but she has agreed that she does have the vehicle that she could accommodate that. And again, I think I've talked to council before that there has been a lot of change again in trends with that, where traditionally there was a lot of phone calls with dogs running at large. And, but, over the last few years with social media, I know that a lot of dogs are getting returned within a few hours because people take a picture. They seem to recognize them and they do get returned, which is great. However, we still would want to be able to have a provision, if possible, that if a dog was found and nobody was able to locate an owner, and if they did not have a tag on them, that there was a mechanism to find a safe shelter for them, why we do try and seek out an owner. So council has, I have provided in this report a few items, key points within the agreement that have been proposed and agreed upon at this point from the operator standpoint. Again, it's council's decision whether they decide to proceed with the agreement. Again, I'm looking at a 13-month term and a retainer for the term of the agreement. So that would be at the signing, we would pay a $500 retainer for services. The cost, so if a dog was picked up and gone to the facility and the owner found, it would be the owner's responsibility to pay the costs incurred, and they would be paying them directly to the kennel. And there is a termination clause. The only thing that we do have to work out, and hopefully it's not an issue, but if the dogs were not claimed, she doesn't have the ability to do adoptions, where traditionally through the shelter service, they would be able to provide that service. However, we said, that the municipality and through bylaw enforcement, we would reach out to the humane societies and try and find an adoption service for the animal. Again, worst case scenario, we hope they do get returned. So barring that, the recommendation for council is to, about the agreement. And if the agreement was agreed upon by council, there is a bylaw prepared later in the agenda for their consideration as well. So I'd be happy to answer any specific questions that council may have.
Questions from council? Any questions? Deputy Mayor Ellison.
Jackie, do we have any numbers as to historically how much the previous shelter was utilized?
So a report does come to council annually. And I think probably, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. I would say probably 2 or 3. No, and that has been consistently going down. I'd say in the last 5 years, it's maybe been a handful. Yeah.
Other questions? No other questions. We have a recommendation motion front. Moved by Councillor Moyer, seconder, Councillor Keel, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next one is 5.3 is a report from the drainage superintendent. It's petition for drainage works. And Jonathan Lampman.
Mayor, members of council, what you have in front of you is a request for petition for a new drain under Section 4 of the Drainage Act. The recommendation is that council receive the petition for the drainage works by owners under Section 4 of the Drainage Act. Quick brief summary. We received the petition on December 2nd, 2021. There were 2 individual owners that have submitted for it. And the area of land requiring drainage is concession 20 and concession 5. So County Road 7, Elgin Field. Any other questions? I'm here to answer.
Questions from council? No questions from council? We're looking for, we have a recommendation in front of us. Looking for move, Councillor Moyer, Councillor Hemming, in favor? Carried. All right, 5.3, 5.4, report from drainage superintendent, review of the McLean drain maintenance quote.
Mayor, members of council, what you have in front of you is the review of the McLean drain maintenance quote. Our recommendation is that council receive this report and direct staff to award the McLean drain maintenance quote to RS Graham Contracting Limited in the amount of $37,586.06, including HSD. If there's no questions, you have a recommendation.
Questions from council? There's quite a discrepancy in costs. Is that just because of the piece of equipment that he has that he can?
Likely the piece of equipment, the work that the other contractors typically take on,
Yeah,
busy
but I
time
mean-
of year. There's several variables.
And he's got quite a piece of equipment to clean that stuff out as well. Okay. No questions. We have a recommendation in front of us again. Moved by Councillor Hemming, seconded by Councillor McClinchy. All in favor? Carried. Our next report is 5.5, and that is from the engineering technologist, the backflow prevention program.
Your worship and the members of the council, the staff is seeking approval to implement the proposed backflow prevention program for all industrial, commercial, institutional, and multi-residential facilities with 3 units or more in accordance with Part 8 of municipalities' water bylaw. Approximately 900 water accounts will be affected. The staff with the partnership with Backflow Solutions, Inc., or BSI, are looking at a softer approach to the program, allowing for longer periods for compliance. The program will be divided into 4 phases. The public awareness phase, which will run for about 3 months, will focus on educating and getting information out about the program. Emphasis will be in the importance of protecting the drinking water system. Informational brochures along with social media will be utilized. At the same time, we will be working with BSI in the background. We will reach out to the licensed testers in the area to create an approved list of testers that the property owners can use. The site survey phase, letters will be sent out to the affected addresses, asking them to get the survey done and for contractors to notify the municipality. Property owners will have 90 days to comply. Reminder letters will be sent out on the 30th and 60th day. The remediation phase, based on the survey received, the municipality will issue a notice to either install a backflow device, repair the existing device, or test the existing device. Property owners will be given 180 days to comply and notify the municipality. Backflow prevention devices must be tested annually thereafter, and test reports must be submitted to the municipality within 30 days of the test anniversary. Property owners will be reminded in advance. Although the municipal backflow prevention program is not a legislative requirement at this time, Section 19 of Safe Drinking Water Act of 2002 places a statutory standard of care to individual municipality to ensure the protection and safety of the users of the municipal drinking water system. The establishment and implementation of the program is a best practice strategy aiming at reducing risk of contamination to our water supply. The council can elect to defer the program. However, the staff recommended the program be implemented as outlined herein. Thank you.
Thank you, Aubrey. Questions from council? Who wants to start? Councilor McClinchy and then Councilor
So
Hemming.
the way I understand it then, this is only for industrial, commercial, institutional and multi-residential residents?
Through your worship to the councilor, yes, that is correct.
Okay, so, down the road, would that then come to regular residential?
No, it will be mainly in commercial and industrial.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Hemming.
Yes, through you, Mayor Rob. So who pays for the installation of the backflows?
Through your worship to the councilor, it will be the property owners.
Property owners, okay. And yeah, okay, all right, that's good. Thank you.
Okay, other questions? Deputy Mayor Cornelison.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. I'm curious about farm livestock structures. Would they not have backflow preventers, particularly now if they have their own well and they were hooked up and now they're just a house, and would there not be backflow prevention there as well?
Through your worship to the deputy mayor, yes, most of the properties will probably have the this infrastructure already. It's just we have no records of what they have over there. That's why the period of the survey, that's kind of the aim, is to get the information on what they actually have. And once we have all those data, we can actually let them know that, okay, that it's time for you to test it. And that, yeah, that the program entails that annually that it's needed to be tested and you need to report it back to us.
So, and how would you evaluate whether or not there's one required? Would you tell it by water consumption or?
No, with the survey, it's actually a contractor who would have to analyze the area or the property itself. They will actually point out the where the backflow is. There's a possibility of backflow, and then the contractor will actually report to us saying that yes, that they, for example, that they located areas that needs to be that the device needs to be installed.
Okay, I'm not quite clear how if my neighbor, for example, gets McLeod well drilling in, drills a well, blah, 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 hooks his wiring up, how does anyone know that there's a backflow preventer in there? And how would they know that it needs to be inspected? How do we determine that? That's my question.
We know all the what we're doing. What we're going to do is send out the notices for because we have records of the farming and the commercial properties. We'll be notifying them that yes, that you should have a backflow device installed in your locations. And if you don't have it, that you were going to have to let them know that yes, they need to be installed. Or if they already have one, we can actually tell them to repair them or to just test them and then let us know what the result is.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions from council? I guess my question would be, at these places where they don't have any other source of water, where's the contamination coming from? How do they get contaminated, without a backflow preventer, if that's the only source of water coming in?
To the mayor, they may not need in certain instances, right? Basically, the front end of this is just data inventory.
Okay,
Here's a situation. Be there a well on the property, be there no well on the property. They get treated differently, right? And it's not to say that a backflow must be installed. An air gap works as well. So if you have a well that's attached to a barn and the barn physically doesn't touch the house, you have a physical air gap there. No backflow required, but it's just building the inventory and getting to know what is out there. That's the main drive of this in the initial stage. Once we have the inventory, then we just roll it over year after year after year, just to protect the public water supply, basically.
and I see if I read it right, when you do this, people have 6 months to put these in. You're not
It's
giving them
it's not
2
a
weeks.
tomorrow
You're
thing, no.
giving them, okay. All right, thank you. Other questions? We have a recommendation in front of you. What's your wish, council? I can read it if you like, that the program be approved on all industrial, commercial, institutional, and multi-residential facilities, 3 units or more, in accordance with Part 8 of the municipality's water bylaw. Moved by Deputy Mayor Nelson, seconded by Councilor McGlinchey. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Aubrey. The next report is from the treasurer, user fees and charges review.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of council. A report has been prepared for council consideration in regards to a review of the municipality's user fees and charges bylaw. But before going into the details of the report, a clarification is required in regards to the cemetery fees that is included in the report. There have been some modifications have come to light since we've prepared the report that are not included in the report. So what we're asking of council tonight is to exclude the cemetery portion of the report, and a different report will be brought to council on January 19th to outline all of the modifications within section 5 of the user fees and charges bylaw. So a little bit of background, the current user fees and charges bylaw for the municipality was passed on October 18th of 2017. Since then, there have been modifications done to the bylaw, and we are now working with an approved consolidation of changes to the said bylaw. As part of the budget process, staff has performed a review of all of our fees and charges bylaw, and moving forward, this will be done on an annual basis every year when it is budget time. So the discussion portion of the report outlines the recommended changes per section of the bylaw. So you have, for all of the section, the modifications are outlined. Some of the sections do not have any recommended modifications. So at this point, again, remember section 5 is being excluded from this report. If you have any questions, I do have the department heads here present to inform you as to how they have come about these recommended modifications.
Okay, questions from council? Deputy Mayor Nelson.
Someone else, no one else raised their hand. I have several questions, actually. Just for so I can understand clearly, would I look at, say, section 9.1, okay?
Mhm.
False alarm call outs, it's $508, okay? Then, if I go down to the bottom, it goes open air violations and then second offense and subsequent. And it has remove in the last column. What does that mean? Remove?
So it means that that section there, so that fee or charge would be taken out of the user fees and charges bylaw and would no longer be applicable.
So every offense would be a first offense?
Correct.
Okay. So now I guess my question now would be directed at the chief, I believe, since he's here. What constitutes an open burn violation? I understand that's one without a permit, but to what extent is an open air violation? Is that someone having a bonfire in their backyard, or like I know a pile of rubbish going out on a farm for sure, but can you clarify that for me?
That I think is what it is. What we're intending to do is the people who are burning on a regular basis. We've undertaken education. When we've gotten calls about people burning without a permit, we've gone out, we've spoken to them, we've explained the new bylaw, and basically laid out that this is an educational opportunity, but now if we come back, then there are fines that can be levied and the fees for service for the trucks responding.
Okay, and so the fee as I see it here is looks like $508, is that correct?
The current MTO rate is the proposed.
Okay, okay, and that's just for one truck then, or is that so per truck? So if 2 trucks go or 3 trucks go, it'd be 50, could be 1,000, 1,500.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and the number of trucks that goes is dependent on the severity of the fire?
It kind of depends on the number of personnel we have available to respond. So
Okay.
it may be during the day, it may be 1 truck. So
Okay.
It may be just the.
Okay, all right, that answers my questions, thank you.
Other questions? Seeing no other questions, you have a recommendation in front of you. What's your wish? And it is to remove the cemetery section. You're going to bring that back in January.
Correct. We are going to, on January 19th, I will bring a separate report specifically for the cemetery fees.
Okay. So the motion is that Council of Municipality North Middlesex establish the fees charged as set out in this report. Minus cemeteries. Moved by Councillor Nickel, seconded by Councillor Keough. In favor? Carried. Thanks, Estelle. Next, passing of accounts.
Thank you. So the report in front of you outlines the expenses for the municipality for the period of November 26th through to December 8th for a total of $2,458,547. Any questions?
Questions? Deputy Mayor Cornelison.
I was waiting to see if anyone else had any.
I understand. I didn't even look. I just asked.
I do have a question for our supervisor, Jonathan Lappin there. I've noticed that McCann is on a regular basis with gravel. Are we stockpiling gravel?
Through the mayor to the deputy mayor, that is granular A. Some of it did go to Boot Hill Road. We've recently done improvements there, and then there is a bit of a stockpile at the brewery shop.
Okay, and then we will carry on with the Lavis holdback. So that
Lavis-
paving that was done earlier in the year?
Lavis holdback, they just came to us, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. Basically, they forgot to invoice for the holdback on the paving works done in 2020. They had a bit of a kerfuffle in their accounting office. It's holdback, it's legitimate, the work's good, there's no issue, just a little late issuing it.
Is that our standard procedure now that we hold some back whenever we do a paving program?
Yeah, typically, in construction lien act dictates this. So as soon as you do any type of construction, typically there's a 10% holdback.
Okay.
And in addition, you can see a 3% maintenance holdback, not necessarily in this case, but yeah, it's legislated that we have.
That's good policy. And then my final question, again for yourself, is the Neil Road Bridge fence. Is that just along the fence, like the guide wire?
Neil Road, I believe we extended the wing walls and we had royal fence in to do additional guide rail on it.
That's the guardrail work. That
Where's
was the
bridge?
guardrail work along the.
That bridge is, I'm just trying to, I know there's 2 bridges I'm familiar with, one by
I'm
Lynn's and
not-
one by Dixon's,
Off the top of my head, I think it would be north of,
Flurry Road or McDowell Drive.
yes, exactly, yes. Down in the dip. It'd be south of,
Yeah, just by Lynn's, that one.
yeah,
Okay, because there's one by Bill Dixon too, or Jimmy
yeah.
Dixon,
it was-
right? Okay,
We had royal fence.
all right. That's good stuff. Thank you.
Other questions? No other questions? We need a motion to pay our accounts. Counselor Nickel, Counselor McClinchy, all in favor? Carried. Thanks, Estelle. Committee reports, Lake Huron Primary Water. Counselor Hemming, nothing. ABCA, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. As you can see, there is quite a detailed report in the correspondence, and I think it's an interesting read. I don't know how things will move forward, but I think, Jonathan, you'll be working with them rather closely, I believe.
Through your worship, yes, I've been volunteered as the point person to see this or their change in governance through. I've read through the document. It seems like a lot at the beginning stages will be in their court first, and they've spelt out some of the timelines. So next year for the Conservation Authority, I guess everything's going to go upside down, and they're going to have to change the way that they do things. So we're look forward to working with them.
It'd be interesting to see what impact it has on us general levy and mandatory fees, won't it?
I have the exact same questions.
Thank you.
Any questions for the Deputy Mayor on that? Seeing none. EDAC, there's nothing there, I don't think. Local School Advisory. Sorry, Blue Water. I'm sorry, Councilor McClinchy. Yeah, my apologies. Anything you want to add to that? No? Any questions? Any questions for Councilor McClinchy on that? What was their budget increase, or what was it? Just.
Final approval was, the board approved an increase of 2%.
2%.
This will increase the share cost of 69 per year compared to the CPI adjusted rate of 85 of 4 cents and such.
Okay.
You have to read it all.
Yeah, but 2%. Okay, thank you. Local School Advisor, was there anything there? Recreation Committee?
Yeah, we had a meeting last night, and we had a good little discussion on like the trails and that in our municipality. So there's going to be maybe a little bit of a push from some of the people out there, the citizens out there that want to put some time and effort into it. So we'll see how that goes.
Okay. All right, the policy committee. So unfortunately, we met, but there was a mix up on the dates. And so we didn't have a quorum. That's why the cemetery one came through without going through policy. But there is a couple more policies that we do have to get together so that we can bring them forward to council. Fire committee.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Rob. A couple of points to bring to council's attention. Last night we had a fire meeting, and our September minutes they were just agreed upon last night. So they will be coming forth in the new year at our next meeting. The second point we'd like to make, there was a recommendation for a linkage and upgrade on a fire truck from the Elsie Craig Fire Station on a tanker that was manufactured in 2019. At that time, it had a basic mechanical linkage system installed on it, just in order to make it more cost effective. However, since it has been in service, it's been quite cumbersome and has caused some issues. It's not really general practice to have that manual linkage in new trucks. So the remedy to that is to install an air-assisted linkage to operate that gate. Recently, just within 30 days, it has been estimated from the manufacturer to approximately $7,500 to install that. Would certainly make it easier. There is some health and safety issue to this because it is quite cumbersome and where it's located. So it would certainly save any type of injury that may occur. So I'd like to table a recommendation regarding the alteration to this update of the valve linkage on this 2019 tanker that's at the Elsie Craig Fire Hall for the installation of this air-operated assist cylinder and the linkage mechanism to be installed by the manufacturer for a cost of $7,500 thereabouts, and to be incorporated in the 2021 budget.
Okay. And you're making.
I'm sorry, the 2022 budget. sorry.
2022 budget.
So I'm making that recommendation.
We have a seconder. Counselor Nichol, discussion on it? No discussion on it? When it becomes a health and safety issue, that
It's an
changes
easy
some of the
sell.
conversation,
That's right.
doesn't it? Yeah. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Anything else on the fire committee? Okay, thank you. Aqua, nothing on that.
Unfortunately, our meeting was postponed till January.
Okay. The budget committee, we met on Thursday and on last Thursday and Monday of this week, and we had 2 full days of discussion, and I think it was very good discussion. It's coming with a few changes, but a lot of conversation on it. And I thank the budget committee and staff for all their work putting into it. And so that'll come through to council on the 19th of January. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. And I would just encourage that we have a robust discussion when the budget comes to council. I look forward to that opportunity to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, well said. So anyways, that's just a report that's coming through on January 19th, but we did have 2 full days and a lot of discussion on it. Water, wastewater committee. John, do you want to speak on that a little bit? The water, wastewater?
That was, I'll speak on that, your worship.
Oh, that's yours.
So
Sorry.
the
No,
recommend-
sorry.
the
I said
recommend-
Jonathan. I said Jonathan. I didn't say Lampman.
As you're aware, the climate in which we manage water, wastewater is becoming more prevalent over and over to come to council with it. So there's quite some redundancy in the water, wastewater committee, which hasn't met in a very long time. So our recommendation today is that be it resolved that council has determined the terms of reference for the committee has been fulfilled and therefore be dissolved by bylaw 17th of 2019, and be hereby repealed. Are there any questions?
Any question on it? That committee was put together for, again, a purpose and a short-term committee. So we have that recommended motion. We have Councillor McClinchy, Councillor Moyer, all in favor? Carried. Correspondence, ABCA Conservation Act Transition Plan. Approved November 18th, 2021, receive and file. Anything on that? Middlesex London Board of Health meeting update, receive and file. Minister of Infrastructure, Building Broadband Faster and Ontario Guideline, receive and file. I know they're not coming to Sylvan anytime near you. Sorry, Middlesex County Economic Development and Tourism Department. Update 2021, receive and file. Nothing on that. Other business. And we'll start with the Wessex non-binding letter of intent. And Jonathan Lampman, you're going to speak on that one.
Through the mayor to council or to council and the mayor, just to let you know that we have now basically come to an agreement on the non-binding letter of intent with Wessex to look at the lagoons, the possible purchase, all the details that we have to sort out to see where it lands. So it's just an update that we're there. We vetted it on our side, they vetted it, we're comfortable, we're both happy. We just sign it and then we start digging in.
And we're ready to move forward on doing some, for them to spend the time to see what we can get done.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
So you got a motion to authorize that.
Yes. All right, so that's what I was gonna say. We do need a motion for that to authorize it. Counselor Nichol and Counselor Keough in favor. Carried. Thanks, Jonathan. The next one is 2184588 Ontario Limited, the verbal update on the site plan agreement for 2296 Elginfield Road, and that's the south end tire crowd.
Through your worship, members of council, as you may or may not be aware, south end on Elginfield Road, just outside Park Hale here, is going through some renovations and expansion of their business operations, which required us to go through site plan control. We're doing this in parallel under conditional building permit so that they could get some work done. And we've pretty much come to a resolution for the agreement, and the bylaw before you is just to allow us to execute said agreement.
Okay, that's more for just for an FYI for everyone. I do see they're getting it closed in and there is a roof going on that now, so. Next is an update of requirement for road dedication on William Street, Nelson Frank.
Again, through your worship, this is a road widening dedication for William Street. Through our discovery with the current proposed plan of subdivision site plan and in consultation with Craig Wheel Gardens, it was identified that William Street, where we thought it started and where it ended, was not in fact correct. In order for us to do connections for the new proposed plan of subdivision, we need a road widening dedication of about an additional 9 meters of road. So this is just an administrative exercise to legitimize the road widening extension. Craig Will Gardens has been more than accommodating in terms of this. In fact, when I first met with them, they said, I thought that was yours anyways. So we're just cleaning up some of our housekeeping to make sure that everything is kosher for the new plan of subdivision.
Any questions on that? Comments? Seeing none. Ontario Good Roads Conference attendance, locations at the Fairmont, Royal York and Toronto from February 27th to March 2nd. John Keel.
I'd just like to make a note on that, Mayor Ropp, that I looked at the website the other day and there's still really no agenda as such on that. It just refers to check back later to see what we have to offer.
So I think from what I can tell, and I think we need to maybe talk with Chris Trainee or with Kelly from the county.
I can offer a little bit through
Okay.
your worship. I think the lack of scheduled events is they're still in that position of what's going to happen with COVID. It has been identified that this OGRA's intention is to be in person. In similar fashion, when we've had conferences that have been canceled because of COVID, we've actually been able to get out of the arrangements associated with accommodations relatively easy. So I would assume that that would be the same case, but this is a popular event. And even with the lack of an agenda, it being one of the first ones on the provincial and municipal landscape of coming back online, if it does, I would assume that attendance is going to be really regulated, tight, and it's going to be spoken for very quickly. So we're just seeking some kind of direction in how many people wish to attend, and we can follow up afterwards to see if you're still, if it does go back to electronic, if you still want to keep your attendance there. So this is just a sample pool to see if anyone from council wishes to attend. But I feel the same thing. It's not really agenda that is refined yet. But historically, they're very commonplace of just cycling over the same agenda: asset management, vehicle, COVID, so on and so forth. But it's also about the politics that we can get to and being seen in the area.
Okay, so yeah, it is very vague. I've looked at that too, trying to find more information on who the speakers are and some of the different stuff, and I haven't found anything.
I will mention that they do have the premier slated to be there, but that's almost a historical obligation that he's always been there, and the official opposition as well.
Yeah, so, but if anybody's interested, first of all, let us know right away, because I haven't put my name in yet to it either. I haven't spoke to go yet. So that's, what do we got? Oh, the reminder of, you want to do that one on the meetings?
So we just wanted to put a reminder to council that their approved schedule of council meetings and that the January and February meetings are slated to be electronic. However, due to the nature of a couple of those meetings being budget, council certainly has the ability, if they feel it would be better to have an in-person meeting, we can pivot to that. But what it will allow us to do is, if we have it as electronic and not for budget, but for delegation purposes, we would keep them as through the electronic process. But I think it's important that council does understand that they can certainly be in person for budget consideration meetings, which of importance.
What was the rationale behind that?
So mostly weather, mostly winter, just the winter weather, to save people driving out. That was really a lot of the rationale behind it. But with the budget meetings in particular.
I like to have folks in person, because then you could have an opportunity to talk.
Correct.
They want to be, yeah.
That's why it's being brought up here tonight. That's why it's being brought up here tonight, all right? The one that on January is strictly the information gathering, right? That's mostly just information gathering on January.
Or it's a presentation of our baseline information to council. And then in February, we want to give you lots of ample time with the documents. And then in February is the intention is to go into detail.
On that one in particular, I would like to see us be in person, I think. Right?
The county's going virtual for January, February too, is that not?
Yes,
Yeah, thank you.
that's what I understand. Also, you had another item as well.
Yes, I did. Thank you. I just wanted to bring to light that as part of the election kickoff is going to be starting soon and at the first of the year. And part of that process, and Deputy Mayor Cornelison will be happy to know that the voters list will be available through voter lookup. So there, we will be putting lots of social media out there, as well as showing council the platform that you can check to see what you are on the voters list. If you're not on the voters list, you can get added on. Or there are cases where there may be children that have moved that are on the voters list, and there's going to be information on how that removal can occur. So I think it's a great first option for people to be aware of the voters list, and that we promote it as much as possible through our council members as well as through our social media and every avenue we can.
That is good news.
Okay, no questions for that one? All right, before I open up council, I have a couple of small ones. One is tonight, the fire practice is going on at the community center in Park Hill. And the firefighters are being given their Christmas gifts. There's no banquet this year. I had the privilege last Thursday of going to the El Scrape firefighters practice and handed those out. And so inviting any members of council who can go after the council meeting here tonight and stop into the community center in Park Hill. Right. And the other one I had was the Mount Carmel Christmas parade is Friday night at 6:45, and you meet just west of the village. You'll be able to find the spot they meet. It's at the garage there. So yeah, so it's 6:45 is what they're saying. All right. And is there any other business? Anyone have any other business? Councilor Nickel.
I was just wanted to inquire if we have looked at opening up for booster shots as we did with COVID shots for the public in our area.
So yes, it's being looked at.
Thank you.
That's all I can really say right now on it, but yes, they're looking at it there, and the province is hoping we can. Okay, so that would, and if we can, we will put our name on the list right away. I've had a few calls as well from people saying, are we going to have that again? So, all right. Anything else? Any other business? No? Deferred items. If there's a couple there that I'd like to remove off the deferred items because we are working on that. The first one is the review of the water budget following the second quarter. We are working on that with the budget. And the other one is the review of the water policy from February 3rd. All right, to take those off because we are doing that review and it'll be coming to council in the budget. Okay. So if you can remove those two, we don't need a motion for that. That's just do we need a motion? Okay.
Because they were a motion, but staff be directed to do that.
Okay, moved by Councilor Moyer, seconded by Councilor Keogh. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Communication, including county council.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. We did have an interesting presentation last county council on the economic development projects. I think it's included in your package today. Also, we did have a interesting presentation from the city regarding social housing, and they were very forthcoming in any questions that were asked of them, and they provided really good answers. More importantly, though, today was our first meeting of our land use planning for the long-term strategic plan for the county. So today was our first one, and the members of that are the Warden Warwick. Try and say that. That's hard to say, Warden Warwick. You know, Councilor Richards, Councilor Mayhew, and myself, along with some county staff. So we had a really interesting discussion around transportation initially, and then it got into agriculture. And there's a lot of discussion on surplus home severances and changing the date of the houses, because in 1990, no house built after 1999 at this time can be severed off, but they want to move that forward so that it's closer to make more sense to houses that have been built after that time. The other thing that was an interesting discussion, has not been a decision made yet, is the size of land parcels. Currently, it's 40 hectares or 38 hectares, I believe. And there's some interesting discussion on that and where we want to go with that. Some of the municipalities are leaning towards, 20 or 30 hectares. And I don't know, I'd like to get some feedback on my members of council here where we feel we want to be, so I can share that with the committee.
Who'd like to speak first? Comments on what?
John, you have any thoughts on that?
Deputy Mayor, I really can't think of anything right now, but I'm quite sure that now that this has been brought up, I'll give it some thought and bring you back any questions or certainly text or email you any questions. But are you indicating that county would like to lower the land mass size in order to enable a severance?
No, that's not what the county's presenting. It's a question for the committee. There are some counties, Chatham-Kent, I believe, is 20 hectares.
Okay.
And I think,
As a minimum. As a minimum?
yeah.
Okay.
Another one is 30, but we are at 40. Okay.
Yes.
And in my mind, it makes sense because if you look at the farm sizes that have always been surveyed here, they are 40 hectares for the most part. The odd one has been separated through family attrition or whatever back in the days before, the increase in farm sizes. But I thought I'd reach out to my fellow colleagues here in council to see where we feel as municipality we want to be in terms of farm sizes or severance sizes. Now we did talk about those little chunks of property that are severed off by a ravine or a railroad. And of course, that's simply not an option. It will never happen.
So natural severances are off the table.
Yes, that won't happen.
Okay.
That won't happen. So they're talking about farm sizes or severance sizes.
Councilor Moyer.
Yeah, I think I remember when it went from, back when it was acres, it went from 50 acres up to 100 acres and was for just farm sustainability, I guess, that you could make a living off of 100 acres. With the type of farming now, with the, I guess, more specialized farming, gardening, blueberries, different stuff, you can do that on some smaller acres now. So, possibly that might be options that they can look at.
I actually brought that up before the committee. There was a farm consultant on this committee as well who spoke today. I specifically talked about greenhouse and vertical farming operations and reducing the size to allow that, and it's strongly discouraged. It was not accepted well. And then I brought the question, something we had talked about some time ago, about an agricultural park, if you will, where you take 40 hectares and break it down into 5 or 6 hectare parcels for a number of greenhouses. And that wasn't well received either, which surprised me.
Just one thought there, Adrian, is the smaller the severance, that would enable more market farm gardening or market gardening farming and produce, because if I understand correctly, they have increased the taxable exemption rate for farm gate produce. It's in the provincial mandate. So that might be something to look at too.
Yeah, and of course, what they've made several comments to is the competition from non-farmers buying agricultural properties. So the competitive nature of purchasing these properties. Okay, back in the 70s, I think, as you may recall, we had a huge influx of our urban neighbors who would buy smaller properties here in our agricultural areas, and then it became a problem for the agricultural industry.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you.
Other comments, questions on that? Seeing none, I just go back to, you made the comment about the London, talking to us about the housing. They have over 6,000 names right now waiting for social housing. And they're putting together a very aggressive package over the next 5 years. correct? For
Yeah.
3,000, to house 3,000 people.
Actually, what they're doing is they're, I think it's called regeneration. So there's a number of buildings that will be torn down and rebuilt. But then today there's an announcement from the federal government that there's another 10 million for new affordable housing being built.
I hadn't heard that
Complex.
announcement today. I was just mentioning that. So there's 6,000 names now. They're being very aggressive and it's a lot of money they're talking that, you know, has to come from somewhere. And I'm sure that the county will be one of the one of the groups that are helping to supply the funding. But it's all in the city, but there's that's to house 3,000. So that still leaves 3,000 people on that list, plus the people that are coming, keep coming. So, you know, that's a tough grind, that one. It's just, by the time they get those 3,000 done, there'll probably be another 3,000 on the list. We hope not, but I'm afraid that's the way it's heading. I just want to make that comment to that housing.
Yeah.
And it's quite a challenge.
Yeah, and Councillor Elliott did ask specifically what numbers of county residents were being serviced in the city by the social housing, and I don't believe she got an accurate response.
No. No, I don't believe she did. So is there anything else on that? If not, we'll move on to reading of the bylaws.
The bylaws are listed on the agenda. The only one I would like to just provide a little bit clarification to is bylaw 104, which is the repeal of bylaw 46 of 2018 by law enforcement officer. That pertains to Amanda Wells from the Animal Care Center, who was appointed as bylaw, but since that service is ceasing, that bylaw would be repealed effective December 31st. So we're looking for first and second reading on all bylaws.
Councillor McClinchy. Councillor Nickel, all in favor? Carried. Third and final, Councillor Hemming, Councillor Keough, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. And so we have no closed meeting.
Yes. We do have closed meeting. Yes, we do. The purpose of the closed meeting is on the agenda this evening. It is for the approval of the minutes for 2021. So we will just have a brief, short closed session, and then the live session will come back if there's any recommendations out of it to close the meeting.
Motion to go into closed. Councillor